Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations on your new chairmanship. This is the second time I've called a Murkowski chair of this committee, and so I'm sure that your father is very proud at this moment, and I'm sure all Alaskans are very happy at the outcome of your taking over this committee. So we recognize that special moment for all of them. I look forward to working with you on this committee on a myriad of opportunities and issues that you just mentioned. I, too, want to welcome the new members to the committee on our side, Senator Warren, Senator King, and Senator Hirono, obviously from very different parts of the United States, but I'm certainly going to count on Senator Warren's help in implementing FERC market manipulation authority that continues to allow them to police energy markets, with Senator King on the issues of biomass and his keen interest in making sure that we continue to have a leadership role in keeping energy prices down in his region of the world by looking at biomass alternatives. And Senator Hirono, who, as you mentioned, has a very unique perspective because of Hawaii and Hawaii's interests, and very keen also on the diversification for their energy sources, given the dependence they have in their electricity grid on the biofuels that they currently have. I look forward to working with the new members on your side, Senators Daines, Cassidy, Gardner, and Capito, and I want to express my feelings of prayers and heart-spoken sorrow to Senator Capito for the loss of her father. I know that she couldn't be with us today. So I so appreciate what you've had to say about the energy agenda moving forward for the committee. We certainly will look forward. As you said, there's a lot that Washington and Alaska have in common, everything from sustainable fisheries to the interests in the Arctic to our public lands to hydropower. So I actually think I read somewhere that your father was born in Seattle and migrated up to Alaska. So to say that our states are interconnected with economies is really a very big understatement, because there are years and years and decades of interdependence between our regions. So hopefully our energy policy that we can work together and put forth will represent not just the interests of our region, but the entire country. And I certainly look forward to proposing ideas as part of that, that are clean energy solutions that do two things: help the United States establish a leadership position in energy issues and protects consumers from unnecessary energy price spikes. So you mentioned a lot of those things as a very a broad range of issues that we will be addressing, and I look forward to working with you on those. Obviously, needless to say, this week didn't go exactly as we would like, and I apologize to our colleagues for the changes in the short notice. I hope that we will adhere to regular order. This is something that we all know is very important for our Congress moving forward. We're here today to discuss whether Congress should prematurely intervene in a pipeline setting process for a special business interest, the TransCanada Corporation. The Keystone XL proposal has changed substantially over the years and has an updated route through Nebraska. This has been a much debated topic here in this committee, and it's been a much debated topic at local governments, public service commissions, state governments, and now state courts. And I think it's been much debated for good reason. If a U.S. company tried to site a pipeline, it would have to go through the local laws and environmental regulations, so a foreign business should do the same. All the discussion started to happen when TransCanada's first proposal went through an aquifer, and a lot of local interests in the state of Nebraska objected. The pipeline travels through 875 miles of America's agricultural heartland, including environmentally sensitive areas like the Sandhill region of Nebraska. And this region has some of the richest agricultural lands in the country, and the aquifer supplies fresh drinking water to 8 states and provides 30% of the nation's groundwater use for irrigation. So that is why TransCanada Corporation had to revise its original route. This new route through Nebraska is now also being challenged because the Nebraska legislature gave their governor the authority to site the pipeline over the Public Interest Regulatory Commission in the state, the Nebraska Public Service Corporation. So that is the state agency that is dedicated to protecting the public interest, not special interest, the public interest on issues of safety, environment, and eminent domain. So now the Nebraska Supreme Court is set to decide whether this currently proposed route through Nebraska will stand depending on their interpretation of whether the legislature and the governor acted according to their constitution. So if we want to place the blame today about a slow process, we should start thinking right away about TransCanada's corporation and what their proposal should have been in the first place. If Congress had succeeded in trying to prematurely decide what is in the state's interest before this pipeline, which is what the proposals before Congress have been before, then we would have approved the Sand Hill pipeline route. So I think that what we need to realize is what is the emergency here for Congress to usurp the process and become a siting committee and approve a pipeline for a route that is not yet approved. There are too many important environmental issues to consider instead of giving a foreign company, a special interest, a sweetheart deal from Congress that even U.S. businesses haven't gotten. My message to TransCanada Corporation is to play by the rules. My colleague from Michigan knows well that we don't know how to clean up tar sands, oil spills in water. In her state in 2010, the tar sands spilled in what has been called the biggest inland oil spill in U.S. history. A pipeline owned by a different Canadian company ruptured and spilled 800,000 gallons of tar sands into the Kalamazoo River. In that spill, the Enbridge found that tar sands sank to the bottom of the river, and the only way to clean it up was to dredge the river. And the cost of that cleanup was $1.2 billion. So the bill in front of us would put the aquifer, as I mentioned, the Oligogua aquifer, at risk, the same thing that Kalamazoo went through. And the Canadian corporation behind it wouldn't have to pay a penny as part of the American Oil Spill Trust Fund. That's because currently there is a loophole in our law that says that tar sands don't have to pay into the Oil Spill Trust Fund. So the Keystone project would escape paying hundreds of millions of dollars into that trust fund. I plan to introduce legislation requiring that those corporations and tar sands actually do have to pay into the Oil Spill Trust Fund. Even in the current Keystone project environment, there are many questions. Recently, I'd like to submit, I don't know technically if we're going to have a record this morning because it's an exec session, not a hearing, but I will pass out to my colleagues a recent story that was in Business Week saying that of the current sister Keystone project, during 1 week in September, 72% or almost 3/4 of the welds on the safest pipeline in the world required redoing. So as we are expanding tar sands and pipeline expansion, we're also finding lots of safety issues and concerns. So again, I say, why the hurry? Americans are bearing the risk of transporting Canada's dirty oil to a world market, and the oil industry is now pushing to allow U.S. crude oil exports at the same time that they're saying the pipeline is vital to U.S. interests. So the fact that TransCanada is going to export lots of oil through our country, their goal is to sell oil to the highest bidder, and this could ultimately raise the price of gas. In fact, I, at the last markup, pointed this out to many of my colleagues because currently the Midwest and our industrial base has a better price, and I'm sure is very concerned about what the price would be in the Midwest if so much of that oil was exported out of the country. So for those who think that all the safety issues have been resolved, to think that all of these issues about getting rid of tar sand oil spills have been resolved, according to the State Department impact, oil can also emit well-to-tank global warming pollution is 81% higher than the average use in the refineries. So, Madam Chairman, I just simply ask today that this is a premature effort, us trying to, as a Congress, decide a siting issue that has taken a long time for very important environmental and safety and public issues, to say nothing of eminent domain debates, to be resolved. I think just like Nebraska is finding out, when you try to subvert those environmental laws, it ends up taking longer because the court processes and the process that we have to go through. So, Madam Chairman, I thank you for the opportunity to make a statement about this. I would just add that I really do look forward to working with you on the legislation that this committee could put forward in a comprehensive way that will lead to real job creation. When I think about the 2005 and 2007 energy bills from this committee, they are really quite remarkable. I would encourage my colleagues on both sides to take a look at what was accomplished in a bipartisan effort during that time period. But we were able, in working with our other colleagues, to help bolster a hybrid and electric vehicle industry that added over 260,000 jobs in the last 5 years. That 2005 and 2007 bills also helped support 450,000 jobs with energy efficiency laws that we passed. We also helped save clean energy technology development through efforts of the wind energy tax credit, working with our colleague on the Finance Committee, the former chair of this committee, Senator Wyden, that has helped increase 50,000 jobs in the United States of America. So I really think that this 21st century energy strategy for our country will help produce that cleaner energy, help us not be so subject to price spikes of the future, and help us lead our country forward. So I know it's unfortunate how all of this week came together, and that at this very first meeting we're having such a contentious issue, but I think that you and I working together after this legislation moves through will really embrace working across the aisle in a bipartisan fashion with all of our colleagues to show that we can move our country forward on a comprehensive energy strategy. And again, thank you and congratulations.